The Good Shepherd, fourth in the Angel of Death series, coming December 9th.
Hi everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of The Composition of Imagination. I am your host and author, Stevie Jo, and this is the show where we do kind of a deep dive into the world I've created for Angel of Death, which is my debut book series. And we also will talk about, along the way, my writing process and just tons of stuff relating to being an indie author and doing this book series. With me today, I have my book guardians, Tasha and Jason, Superman. And we are going to be talking about the trailer that I made, the book trailer for In the Beginning. This is the first book of the Angel of Death series. So if you haven't read it yet, please do. But this is also a good introduction for the book because I kind of put together a little trailer that I think hits the high notes, just the highlights of things that will give you an overall story without giving too much away. So if you haven't watched the trailer yet on your own, I did post it on this channel, so you can go back and watch that. We'll still be here when you get done, I promise. But if you want to just dive into it like we are, just cold turkey, then come on for the ride. We haven't actually seen this trailer in a little while. It's been a few months.
Yeah.
So we're going to watch it. I'll put some clips up here in this area so that you can see what we're talking about. And we're going to go through it and try to cover what it's about and tell you kind of why you should read In the Beginning, basically, with this trailer. The purpose of a trailer, to tell you why you should watch or read something. So let's go ahead and we've got the trailer here in front of us, so we're going to watch it right here, and you guys can watch it up here. And we are going to talk about the different things that are happening in the trailer and try to predictively answer some of your questions about it. So let's dive in, shall we? To the tune that is haunting our dreams because of the
It's so good though.
It is. It's a good tune to start out with.
It's just after you heard it after 3 days, you're just like, okay, I could go another 6 months without it.
Yeah, exactly. So the trailer basically opens with this really mystical, like spirally, sparkly thing before it actually gets into the crux of it. And I did that on purpose, actually. It wasn't just, ooh, this looks like a pretty title card. I did that on purpose because when In the Beginning opens, you're in heaven. So it's almost like I'm transporting you from one realm to the other. That's why I chose that specific, like sparkly, almost tunnel vision looking image. So, and then we are introduced, of course, to Southeast Kentucky, which is home to Murr County. And as it says on here, humans and creatures are beautifully blended. I don't know. I think we beg to disagree on that after we've read it. One thing that you had said, Jason, when we were talking about this trailer, you had mentioned that the opening scenes of Murr County really kind of encapsulate that small town life. Yeah. And that was kind of the feel I was going for. That whole, I'm sure we've all at least heard of a place that's like, they have all these churches and they're real
I can officially say I've been to at least 5 towns that actually match up.
Yeah. And, I've had a lot of people tell me, like, oh, I think I've actually been there. Like the radio DJ at the con a couple weeks ago was like, I think I've actually driven through there. Yeah. So it's meant to represent a very real place that I feel like I'm trying to keep it generic enough that you can picture even like your hometown being Murr County. Yeah. Not everybody lives at the foothills of the mountains, but everybody kind of knows what that would look like. So, thanks Hollywood for giving us that visual. And so as it indicates in the trailer, this is a group of God-fearing people that, they go to church every Sunday. The church, so I do want to make this clear because in the back of my mind, I think that people have questions about this. So, but they may not. I've never been asked, but I feel like there's questions about it. So I'm going to answer the questions that may not even exist. The church that I focus on in Murr County, it's called the Church of Life. It is one of many. It's not like the whole county congregates there. There are other churches throughout Murr County. It's just that this is the one where our focal family goes. So that's
the most entertainment.
And it's the most entertainment because, you know, Noel likes to put on a show for everybody to make it look like the whole family enjoys themselves, even though we know
different.
We know otherwise. And if you haven't read it yet, you will soon. You will.
And if you have siblings in your family, you'll relate a lot to this book.
That is true. Yes. So that I just wanted to clear that up. There are other churches. It's not like the one horse town where everybody goes to the same place.
That is true, and you do kind of allude to that a little bit, that there's others, but you really don't get a sense that the other churches really do anything.
Yeah,
that's why everybody congregates to this particular church, not only because of the focal point being of the family.
Yeah,
it's that he really tries to bring everybody together versus, well, I just want the Catholics, I just want the Southern Baptists.
Yeah.
You know.
Because Noel is a very, and it is explained in the first book, he is a non-denominational preacher. And because he comes from the blended family of humans and creatures, he makes it a goal to try to show people, you can blend together. We don't have to have this difference in this war type thing. So that is what that is all about. Mm-hmm. Because of the mayor of Murr County, the whole thing is almost on the brink of this, it's like everybody's holding their breath, you know, and everybody's waiting to see what happens, because the politics of this county and the way that I structured the characters, I kind of wanted them to be one of those counties where even if you don't like Mayor Jericho, you're still going to believe in what he says because he's your fearless leader and he's promising great things for the future. Yeah. So you kind of want to have that belief, but you're skeptical about it. You know what I mean? As a townsperson.
Yeah. Yeah, you kind of get that, but it does scream of just, you know, again, you encapsulated it.
Yeah.
Small town politics.
Yeah, which is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, you look down, you look around and stuff, and how many times have you seen where you've got a mayor that's been there for ever?
Yeah.
In some cases, and they keep re-electing them because they so deliver on promises.
Yep.
They may not be the promises that they were elected for, but they delivered on some promises.
And they were important enough promises that the community was like, right,
they got a water, you got a new water plant
exactly.
or something like that.
And in Mayor Jericho's case, his promises are to help bring balance back, because the whole reason this story even came to be, for those who haven't read it yet, is because creatures and humans have existed alongside each other forever, but creatures are now the dominant species. Mm-hmm. Through evolution, they have become dominant, and humans are not. They are this far from being an endangered species, so they, of course, are not happy. Right. And that's what the whole thing is. Mayor Jericho being a pure human, that's almost like, I look at the pure human label as, here in Kentucky, if you know anything about horse racing, you know thoroughbreds are the way, that's the way of racing. And that's basically what the pure humans are. They're the thoroughbreds of mortals and all of that. They are the ones that supposedly have in their background, in their genetic history, they have no creatures branched off here and there. They have been human from the days of Adam and Eve, and they have stayed human. How? We don't know. But Mayor Jericho thinks that that's the case, and all of a sudden he was blessed with a Lycan son and then 3 creature granddaughters.
Yeah.
So, you know, something has happened. It's either in Sylvia's or it's in James's.
Yeah.
All these names.
Genetics.
Yeah, genetics. So that's kind of what is bringing everything the way it is, as far as background goes for that. So that's why Mayor Jericho is making all these claims about we need to return creatures to the human state so that we are no longer endangered and we can all exist, because for some reason he doesn't want to all exist if there are creatures.
He doesn't want the bloodline tainted.
No, he doesn't. And he hates that it's already tainted with Rhaegal. You know, being a Lycan.
It is what it is.
It is.
I mean,
it is.
I hate that's one thing that I do like about book 1 is you've got all the old prejudices and stuff, but you've kind of turned it on its head a little bit and shined it in a different way from both sides.
Yeah.
So it's not like the old way of doing things, and it makes you kind of actually think about, okay, I see this side, I see this side, and what they've been doing up to this point.
Yeah.
And then it sets the stage for what goes on down the line.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's whenever you see that segment of, you know, Mur County is on the brink, that's where all that comes from, because all of those old prejudices. And of course, the image at the end where it says a battle of species dominance, that image is symbolically reflective of one of our co-leading ladies and her consistent internal struggle. I think we can all relate to Peyton. I'll just say it because it's not a spoiler. It's Peyton, Skylar's older sister. She is a Lycan. She's a wolf, and the way that I interpret lycanthropes is that the beast is always living within and very conscious in your mind, and it can talk back and forth with your human mind to tell you what to do and how to behave.
Yeah.
And Peyton, I think we can all relate to this at the core. She is constantly struggling with this dominance because she wants to be normal, because something happened with the incident, and which I guess everybody questions, what the heck is it? You will find out soon enough. You will not find out in book 1. So you have to keep reading if you want to know what the incident is. But the incident really changed her and made her not want to be this creature anymore. She wanted to be, quote unquote, normal. So part of my theme for the whole series is basically questioning, what is normal?
Yeah.
What does that mean? Is your normal like mine? Is it like yours? Like who? What is it? So Peyton is my catalyst for that. And she's constantly going through to wonder, what the hell is this?
But it's kind of interesting because you kind of made an allegory of puberty.
Yeah.
In a way. Because as you grow up, you go through all these different things, and they're all kind of competing for dominance.
Yeah.
Until, you get to 18 to 20. And it's interesting because, Peyton's an adult.
Yeah.
She's
like 30 or something.
Yeah,
like
so she went through all that, and yet it's almost like she's still going through puberty.
Yeah, it's like she regressed and is going through it a second time, which we all know we don't want to do.
Yeah.
And some days, and it could be one day she's doing fine, being productive. The next day, she's a total wreck.
Yeah.
And it's worse than, and you could almost use that also for mental illness in a way, because you have your good days and your bad days.
That is true. Or, which this doesn't give a lot away. I'll just kind of sneak this in there. Grief.
Yes.
There's a lot of exploration in my books about how we handle grief, but it's not blatant. It's subtle, where it's like, because, you know, all of these characters you will find as you read the books, they have all lost something to make them the way they are. Whether it's a family member, whether it's their job, whether it's just anything small, but it meant something to them.
Every character has some sort of, I guess you would say, chain around their neck that even though they're going out and being productive in the world, you'll see that chain hangs very heavy on their neck. And some days, even though they're trying to push forward and get things done, they start thinking about it and they do regress.
Yeah.
And that's inherent of all the characters. It's not just certain characters.
Well, that's like with everybody in life.
Exactly.
Yeah, which is one of the things that's great about
if you think about
especially in the first book, is you get it that they're living life and they're dealing with all these different things, but they're not, even though there's a supernatural turn on what they're dealing with, it's no different than what we're dealing with.
Yeah.
Right.
And that was part of my goal, to make them relatable, because I want for you, the reader, as the author, I see myself, pieces of myself in this. It's like my soul got fragmented and I'm put in all these characters. But as the reader, I want you to be able to look at these characters and go, I get what she's going through. And I get what he's going through. Or I hate him, but I know why. Because I knew a person like him. And they suck. Aezra. So
that character is going to be the most hated character in all of written.
I don't know. Cordelia, man,
No, I don't hate her as much as I hate. No, I don't hate her as much as I hate. Ugh.
I hate Cordelia.
How could you know? Oh.
I think because I've dated guys like him.
And that's what I'm saying.
That's why I'm like...
the tall, dark, and dangerous.
I've dated guys like him, so I already know how it ends. It never ends well.
And see, so that's the thing. That's
it never ends well. So that's why I think I hate him so much, because I'm like, why?
Yeah.
Why?
But that's part of the beauty of his relationship with Skylar. So for the people who have not read this, the Aezra is a sanguise, which is Latin for lifeblood, and he is basically the much improved cousin of the vampire. Yeah. He can go out in the daylight.
He doesn't sparkle.
He doesn't sparkle. He doesn't, like, all those old vampire tropes I killed, and I said vampires were too weak to survive in this environment. They're extinct. And then Skylar is a mythic, which is basically a being with magical powers. So they are dating in the first book, and really early on, he proposes to her. That's not a spoiler. That's like what drives the story. So it's important to know.
Hence, red flag.
Yeah. So their relationship is very complex and almost... It's almost like when you were talking, Jason, about going through puberty and growing up, and then Tasha bringing up dating guys like that. I was like, oh my God, that's the melding, because that's basically every girl. I don't know a single woman out there who didn't go through the absolute bad boy phase.
Yeah.
And you wanted that tall, dark, and dangerous, and you didn't care what the risk was. You just wanted it, and it was good until it wasn't.
Yep. And you thought you could change him, but you can't.
Yes.
But you don't want to change him. We don't know.
You know, that's good... Okay, so any women out there listening or watching, why do we do this? Why? Because I don't have an answer, and I was writing about it.
I have no clue either.
And I continue to write about it.
That phase for a long time.
Yeah. And some go through it shorter, some it takes longer.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? I've known girls that sit there and done that, and it's a lifetime journey. They're still doing it.
The thing is, they're only good for short spurts.
Yep.
They're not, it's not a long-term thing. But
I've known many.
The girls that have done that, they're not with the same bad boy.
Yeah.
They're named different names.
It's like a Johnny and an Isaac and a
and a Brad and a this and a Taylor.
Yeah, but if you look at them, they're the same. They're the same person.
But yeah, it's the same person, same situation. It's just a different name in different location.
And it also may be a slightly different set of bad boy skills.
Yeah.
It may be that she learned she didn't want that one bad boy that rode the bikes and like got into fights all the time, but now she wants the bad boy that steals from convenience stores.
Yeah.
Like,
she's upping the game.
Maybe. Maybe she wants a biker this month. Next week she wants a felon. You don't know. Either way, it's a bad boy.
No.
Either way, it's the same thing.
Wow.
But it is. No, it is.
Yeah.
It is.
You go from the felon to
you do a felon
a daywalker. You go to a daywalker. All right.
I'm just saying, you could do, like, the felon's the bad boy.
Yeah. Yeah.
A biker could very easily be about, you get with a biker who's in a motorcycle club, that might be your bad boy.
Yeah.
You could get with a guy who does rodeo, seems kind of safe, that could be your bad boy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's whatever your perception of that bad boy is.
Yeah.
That's what you're also going to seek out and find.
Kind of like normalcy.
Yeah.
It's all...
And that's
all
the thing.
relative.
Yeah.
That might be their normalcy of a bad boy. Again, they're just
true.
named, they just have different names and its location's different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
I mean, one might own a 20-acre meth lab farm. The other might be behind bars. It's still all in that same route.
We're pen pals.
Yeah. He lives in a gated community.
Oh my gosh. I mean, if a woman ever comes to me and is like, my boyfriend lives in a gated community, that's the first thing I'm going to think of.
Saying. I mean,
yeah.
It's the same thing, and that might be normal to somebody. That's their normalcy.
I mean, if they're used to that, that's fine.
And if that's what they're used to, you might be used to a gangbanger, or you might be used to, like, somebody who's in an MC. It's really whatever.
Yeah.
It's just that bad boy ideal.
Yeah.
That I don't know a single female who has not gone through it, at least, who's not been with one bad boy at least once.
Yeah. And
at least once.
And it wasn't at least just that short little phase.
Yeah.
You know, that you just got out of the way.
It might be a month, it might be a year. But you went through that phase.
Yeah.
Every girl has.
Mm-hmm.
And if you haven't, you're a fucking liar. I'm telling you that right now.
Maybe they married their bad boy.
Maybe. Gated community?
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
I'm just saying.
Think about it, because Aezra asked Skylar to marry him, and the whole thing of the book is getting ready for her wedding.
True.
So, I mean...
I want to say something, but I can't spoil.
Yeah.
No, we can't spoil.
You gotta get to book 2 first.
But I'm just saying, it's one of those things that, and some women do marry their bad boy.
Yeah.
And sometimes it works out perfectly.
And you know what's really funny?
Sometimes it doesn't. But you have to go through that.
Yeah.
That's just life, and you have to go through
You have to get it through your system.
Yeah. Because otherwise you're going to be like chasing... Like in South Park when Randy's chasing the dragon. You know you can catch it. You know, it's like, thank you.
And the thing is,
that's a good one.
It is.
And notice, your first bad boy, you always chase that one.
Yes.
All the bad boys afterwards, you always want it to be like that first one, because that first one was so fun and exciting because it was different and it was the bad boy. But now you know what to expect.
Yeah. And so you think you're ready.
You think you're ready, so you move on to the next bad boy.
Yeah.
And it's like, I've already done this. This is boring. Mm-hmm. So you kind of go through it, and you just kind of cycle through.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're always chasing that bad boy dragon.
Yeah.
Always.
And now here's the funny thing. When we were talking about how bad boys are, a woman's classification of a bad boy is relative, their bad boy could actually end up being like this sweetheart that...
Yeah.
So like, for example, my parents... Dad, I mean, if you ever, like, I'll put an image right here of my dad so that you can see what he looks like. He died in 2020, not to COVID. It was just a long health history thing. And we miss him dearly, but he was, in my opinion, when you look at him, he was the definition
of a bad boy.
He was a biker. I grew up around riding bikes and going on runs with him, all the biker friends, like all that fun, awesome stuff.
Yeah.
And it's funny because he was just a teddy bear.
He was.
He was the best dad.
He was great.
He adored, when he loved you hard. Mm-hmm. And there was never any ill will toward anybody. Yeah. I mean, you really had to screw up in order for there to be ill will, or you had to be dating his daughter.
Yeah.
That was, but that's a dad's prerogative.
Yeah.
I don't consider that a bad boy thing.
Yeah.
But it's still, like, I feel like that's the definition of a bad boy that's not actually a bad boy.
Yeah.
So it's like mom captured her bad boy.
They have the appearance.
Exactly. So
you want the appearance of a bad boy, but
okay.
Not the...
Aezra's not in appearance only.
No.
Right?
No.
And the thing about Aezra is he's the opposite of dad.
Yeah.
Where he looks like the good guy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And those are the worst.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's why she hates him so
Those
much.
are so the worst.
It makes
I've
you
done
wonder.
that too.
But it makes you wonder down the road, like book 12, 15, whatever, that you get a snapshot of...
No, there's no. The ones that look good those are worse than the ones that look like the bad boys that they are. No,
I disagree, because it alludes to a time in his description in the book that it was a different time.
I thought it was during this video. Apparently not.
No, you're fine.
No,
but yes, there's nothing going to redeem. But there's going to be a part that explains where he turned the wrong way. There's got to be.
Yes, you are correct. I will. That is a spoiler free. That is my gift to all of you.
No, he's always been a douche canoe.
Because because in a way, yes, he's the bad boy and everything, and he's kind of let's face it, he still falls under what we look at as a vampire. Because...
for all intents and purposes,
loner, don't want to be, and the girls and the girl,
I mean, he is... So think about Aezra.
He's almost a caricature of cheese. Even though he can...
Tasha's like cheddar?
No, like cheesiness. Because think about it. How he's described in the book, he kind of comes across as basically the stereotypical vampire.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And bad boy, because he, like you said, he's got the fangs. He's got the look.
And women inherently
want
over vampires.
Yeah.
I went through a big vampire phase.
Who hasn't?
Clearly I have not gotten out
What
of
is
it.
wrong with y'all?
Like, literally...
It's a girl... Okay, hold on. Cheerleader phase. I feel like every guy every guy has wanted a cheerleader. At least once.
Yeah.
No, okay. I'm just saying, you know what I'm saying? That's like saying no guy ever wanted a cheerleader.
Yeah.
I feel like every guy at some point in their life, even if it was for like a week or a day, they wanted that cheerleader.
Yeah.
Maybe not necessarily
she's not the one.
Or somebody specifically they knew at school. But they all have that fantasy of being with a cheerleader. You can't tell me you have not had that fantasy.
No, I have.
Okay. I get it.
But I also got through that phase too.
Right.
I solved that problem and knocked that out. Yeah.
And the thing, some women have gotten through the bad boy phase or the vampire. Every girl I feel like, because my generation, I want to say more maybe like Lost Boys type Interview with the Vampire type thing.
Oh my gosh.
The movie, not the TV series.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, the movie.
Or the book, yeah. But I mean, it's one of the, I guess for like the younger generation, Twilight. every girl has like wanted that to be like that,
it's
like
it's a supernatural aspect of
yes.
it.
I feel like
they've got strength.
No, it's
that was key.
Like I want you to need me, so I want you to feed on me.
I want you to need me so badly that I am your life.
Yes,
that's what it is. That was the key.
Yeah. Every girl wants a guy like that. And so that's why the vampire, because the vampire needs that.
And think about it.
Saint
Louise is Latin for lifeblood.
Yeah.
So that is like taking that fantasy and being like, here's the penultimate.
This is the thing.
I thought this was going to be like a 30-minute video.
This is the thing, though. You take that away and replace it with somebody else.
Yeah.
Right.
That...
Because we've gotten out of that phase, so you can move on.
But they don't.
Who doesn't? The person or the other person? Which person?
Like the other person.
Well, that's the other person's issue. If you're done with that phase.
So, are you referring to the Skylar Aezra relationship where one kind of, without spoiling too much, where, you know, one kind of
is drifting away?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Well, because it's kind of like.
You grow.
You grow. And you grow out of that.
And in this particular case, I kind of, like you said earlier, took some things and flipped it on its head, where now, instead of, you know, the non-vampire-y, like, fantasy type character.
The non-supernatural character.
They are the ones going, all right, I'm done. And the other person is like, wait.
Yeah, but I'm not.
Hang on. Yeah. Whoa, what's going on?
So that's why she hesitates to accept his proposal. Because she's like, me?
Yeah. Me?
Hold on. Everything was good. You kind of ruined it. What are you doing?
Yeah, because...
And then... Cordelia.
Yeah. 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 I know. She is... So this is ending up into like an almost character... discussion, but
about book one anymore.
But, well, it still is.
It is.
Yeah,
it is very much.
Yeah. So Cordelia, as Skylar's mother, is that character. She's that woman that she. First of all, I just want to, before this even gets out there, this is in no way representative of my mother. My mother, I have to, because, you know, sometimes people think, which I'm guilty of thinking this myself as a reader, you think, oh, wow, did the author base this on someone in their life? No, I did not. Mom is not like this at all. She is a saint, especially for putting up with me and my dad and my like. She had to put up with 4 daughters and my dad. That woman deserves a gold medal.
Yeah.
But Cordelia is basically the epitome of this figure in your life that's never happy. Or maybe it's not even a figure. Maybe it's your own imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
Saying, which other indie authors and creatives in general will understand how that feels. You know, we all have that little voice in your head going, you're not good enough.
Yeah.
You're never gonna succeed with XYZ because. So she's kind of the manifestation of that. And so when Skylar gets engaged and Cordelia's like all of a sudden trying to be kind of mothery, but she's still turning her nose up because Cordelia hates Skylar, which you find out very early on in the book.
Yeah.
She hates her because she blames her for the problems that have come into her life and for the incident. So she like is unhappy about the engagement because shockingly, as much as Cordelia hates Skylar, she hates Aezra more.
That's why I don't like Cordelia. That's why I'm like, I'm fine with her.
Yeah, because she shares Tasha's beliefs.
Yeah.
Because she thinks that Aezra, like everybody else, but it's unusual for Cordelia to think it, that Aezra is not good enough for her daughter. And all of a sudden, Skylar's a daughter.
Yeah.
You know, so it's, oh, you're getting married? Oh my God, this is actually happening.
Oh.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, to him? Oh.
Okay, I'll give her points for that. All right, but at the same time,
oh no, I hate her. It's okay, I get it.
I'm indifferent with her.
Yeah,
like, I don't like her, but I don't hate her. She's just, for me, she's just there.
Yeah, which as you get deeper into the series, she will start to emerge from being a wallflower, and she plays a more important role than what you imagined before. Right. All right, so now we're back in the conversation. Sorry, had to cool ourselves down from our heated discussion about who we hate.
I don't think it was hate. It was great though.
No, it's a good
passion.
It's a good conversation about the characters, because ultimately that's how you want to feel. You want to feel something. You don't want a character.
If you don't feel anything, then you're not reading the right book.
And you don't want a character that's just going to sit there flat the whole time. So it's a really good conversation about especially Aezra and Cordelia, because they are two very, very heavy influences in Skylar's life. Yeah. So whether Cordelia knows it or not, and whether Skylar wants her to be it or not, she is a huge influence on Skylar's life. Okay.
It's interesting, the dynamic between Noel, Peyton, basically the whole Jericho family.
That faction of it.
How they just kind of, they're in everybody's sphere.
Yeah.
But not.
Yeah.
I mean, there's obviously a big disconnect, and you're going, why?
Yeah.
You could easily say it's creature related, but even with that, that's still there's more going on there.
There is.
Well, it's the incident.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
True.
It's the underlying what happened in the incident. And the reason we're focusing on the incident is because it does come up a lot from books 1 through 6, which 4, 5, and 6 aren't even out yet. But I'm telling you, it comes up a lot in those books.
Yeah.
And it's a very key building block in the Jericho family's, like puzzle. So, puzzle piece.
I feel like with any family dynamic, there's always one thing that will either make or break a family.
Yes.
There's always one incident.
Yes.
No matter how big or small it is I feel like no matter how big or small it is, depending on who you talk to in that family.
Yeah.
It could be this huge catastrophic thing to one person.
Mm-hmm.
And then you talk to a person in that same family, and they're like, oh yeah, I totally forgot about that. That was so not even important.
Yeah, it wasn't important to the other person. It was World War III, Armageddon, and pretty much the world exploding all in the same thing.
The incident, everybody has an incident in their family.
Yep. And if you didn't hit the nail on the head with the dynamic between Cordelia and Noel.
Yeah.
Because Noel is Cordelia's husband. He is the pastor of the Church of Life, which we mentioned before. And Cordelia is we haven't discussed who exactly she is. She's Skylar's mother. She's Peyton's mother. She's Noel's wife. She is basically the workhorse of Mayor Jericho, because she is helping enact what he wants done, because she is a renowned geneticist. And Verham Labs was her idea. So and the dynamic between Noel and Cordelia is just that. This was a big deal to me. And Noel's like, but was it?
Yeah. But
so you're getting that,
and that also causes so much friction, because it's like, look, it's a big deal to me. Why are you making it not a big deal?
Mm-hmm.
If it matters to me, it matters to everybody.
It should matter.
If I'm not happy, nobody's
not
happy.
Not so much that but it's also,
why don't you care enough?
I think that's what I meant to say. Is if it's such a big deal to me, why do you not care enough to find out why it's a big deal to me?
Exactly.
This is what happened. Why does it not bother you?
Yeah.
Why is it so insignificant to you?
Yeah.
And
just some people want to see mass hysteria.
Yeah. But think about it. Like, that's how it is with people, though.
Yeah, it is.
If you really talk to any family, or a group of, even if it's a group of friends, a close knit group of friends, there's always going to be
a black sheep in the group.
Well, I don't necessarily.
Yes.
But I mean, I feel like there's always going to be an incident.
Yeah, there's a thing that happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's
usually called divorce.
Each person differently. Yeah.
And the funny thing is, you look at Cordelia and Noel in this first book, and Noel is featured very prominently because that is Skylar's dad. And getting married and having your dad like the guy you're marrying, that's, as a girl, that's super important.
Because that's gonna make it. That's gonna make or break whether it really lasts. Because you can be married to somebody and the family absolutely hates it, and you still can push on, but it will drag on you to the point that at some point you have to decide either you're going to keep going or that stress is going to break up the marriage.
Yeah, and that's basically the road that Skylar's on in this first book, which, speaking of that, in the trailer, she gets introduced next. We've been talking about her, so we'll just kind of introduce her next. Skylar is it's not even joking. She is, I'm going to pause it here for a second. Whenever the trailer says at the center of it all is Skylar, that's not to make her like, oh, I'm the center of the universe. No, it's just that she is the same key being in all these little lives and things that everybody, it's like the incident was such this massive, heartbreaking, like painful thing that everybody turns and looks at Skylar and goes, it was you. And it's everybody, the one thing everybody can agree on, except Noel basically, is that Skylar is to blame.
And that's still, and that bothers. If I was a reader and I read that, that would bother me. I'm just saying, as a reader, that would really bother me because, you're blaming this person and they don't even really have any knowledge of it.
Right. But that's the thing. That's what happens. When there's somebody, there's always going to be somebody to blame. You're always going to blame somebody for whatever incident that happened.
And you almost want to turn and sit there and look back at them and sit there and say, well, what did you do to stop it?
Yeah.
But
no.
But you could not have stopped it. No matter how many times you replay it, you may not have been able to stop whatever it was that happened.
The incident, I get the feeling, is going to have its own video. We're going to have to do a deep dive as we can.
When you get to that point, and it is fully unveiled.
Playing devil's advocate here.
No, I know. But what I'm saying is you get to that point.
Devil's advocate.
Needs to get to that point when it's fully unveiled.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's going to be okay, we got a lot to unpack here.
And it will be, because I'm telling you, that's why Mr. Burns tinted my fingers. Because I'm telling you right now, both of you are so onto something, but you're both saying it differently to where it's two different interpretations.
Yeah.
But your path is going to converge together, and you are going to end up being like, oh, both of our ways got us here, and that's what the incident, now that makes sense.
Maybe you weren't a part of the incident to begin with, but it still affected you.
Yeah.
You didn't have a Super Saiyan moment and blew out the whole backyard.
But I'm just saying though,
you got angry, screamed, and next thing you know, half the Lexington blew up.
It affected me.
Yeah.
Well, that's true of anybody.
But that's the thing is, you can't say, that's why I don't like it when people say, well, that person's to blame for the incident.
Yeah.
Well, they go, well, what did you do about it? What if you weren't even there? You just heard about it, or did
it really affect you though? If you just heard about it,
maybe because I knew the people, and I felt some way towards them.
I get it, but it kind of falls flat a little bit. That'd be like somebody
blaming people.
But from the perspective of the first book, what we know is that something bad happened to the Jericho family.
Right.
And what we know is they all remember it.
Right.
And they all pretty much remember it the same way, which is rare, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Among
everybody
people.
has a different.
You know, like there was
Red flag.
there was that study a long time ago that asked kids what they remember on the day of 9/11. They wrote down what happened that
And
day,
everyone
and
was
then
different.
and then they asked again later, and it was different.
Yeah.
So the fact that all the Jerichos, I'm kind of like dropping little breadcrumbs for you. The fact that all the Jerichos remember it, and they remember it mostly the same way.
Right.
That's something. That right there is something. And the fact that they all, because even Noel can agree that it was Skylar's fault, or that she was part of it somehow, but he doesn't see her as the enemy the way the rest of the family does.
And
And
feel like
even
that's perspective.
and even Peyton has that off and on,
Right.
you know, where, yeah, you're the enemy because you fucked this up, but I still love you because you're my baby sister.
Right.
You know?
I mean,
And
yeah, I
it's
feel like it's one of those. I feel like it depends on the person and
Yeah.
your characteristics and your personality on how you're going to perceive something.
Yeah.
Because just because I perceive it one way does not mean he's going to perceive it the same
Yeah.
way. Even though we saw the exact same thing,
Mhm.
we both saw the commercial. I felt one way about it. He felt another way. It's just
yeah. It's polarizing.
yeah. It's just
Human nature.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's two different people.
We need to make that a thing above our heads right here. Human nature. Yay!
I mean, I don't want to. I have not blamed any of the Jerichos as of now for the incident because I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
I like to get all my facts first and go, who played what part in what area?
And that's part of the mystery.
Yeah.
yeah.
That you see in the first book
That's why I don't say anything about it.
is as you go along, you start seeing the detective work going on.
Yeah.
And here's another breadcrumb for you. Going back to your thing about trying to get all the facts first. Isn't it funny how nobody has questioned it?
Yeah.
Like, even the whole county is like, yes, Skylar is the enemy. I
haven't thought about that.
It is made clear in this first book. See, I like presenting little theories. It is made clear in the first book that Skylar's nickname is the Angel of Death.
Yeah.
Because of the incident.
Okay, yeah.
Isn't it funny that the whole county just decided, you know what? Yes. This is a thing that we're going to agree with.
This is a thing, and the fact they didn't sit there and, like, you know, send her to a penitentiary or something, or some place to get studied.
You have something happens in a small town.
Mm-hmm.
It's huge for like the first couple of weeks.
Yeah.
4 or 5 years later, it's not even a bleep on. Everybody forgotten about it. It's not even a bleep on the screen.
Yeah,
like,
even the gossip mongers are like, what?
It's like
They've moved on.
Yeah, like, oh yeah, she's the Angel of Death. So anyways, what do you want to do for lunch today?
And when something happens, they're no longer surprised.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, that tracks for her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's why the whole city's just like, eh.
Yeah.
Because I mean, yeah, think about it.
I mean,
Like,
if you're a mass murderer in a small town, they don't sit there, generally speaking, and just go, okay, yeah, you're good.
Well, I think we can all agree that if Skylar mass murdered anybody, it wouldn't just be called the incident.
I mean,
It damaged a lot of people.
Yeah.
So, at least by the description.
It's a small town.
Yeah.
People die, new generations. And like, as new generations come up, yeah, the story it might get passed down from generation to generation, but I feel like after a while it kind of loses, or it'll lose its...
Like, it loses its, newness, and it's like that new car smell fading.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying this happened like 50 years ago.
No, because in the timeline, so that everybody watching and listening knows, the timeline from the incident to the first book opening, 3 years.
Yeah. Okay, it's not even a bleep on anybody's...
Yeah.
No, it's like, I feel like that's almost old news.
It is old news to the townspeople.
Yes,
but
that's why the townspeople don't care anymore. They
don't care, but the mayor and Cordelia care.
Well, because that kick-started their whole thing.
But the thing is, yes, they care because it happened to their family.
Yeah.
I don't care what happened to the family down the road.
But you know what the driving force is behind the whole thing?
What?
Money.
Well, that's right. It's anybody.
Yes.
No, but think about it. Here, put it this way: townspeople don't care. It didn't happen to them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It only
so the mayor was
it was an indirect to them.
Yeah.
So it only affects the people that it directly affects. So if it directly affects your family, the neighbors next door don't care what's going on in this house.
And
they might enjoy the gossip.
Yeah.
But 3 weeks later, they're not going to remember it or care.
And it kind of is also maybe exacerbated by James's just pure hatred that his bloodline has been sullied.
Right.
Because Skylar contributed to that just by being born.
Right.
Yeah.
So that also is what helped.
He doesn't... It doesn't strike me that as much as he hates Skylar, it also doesn't track that... Why doesn't he hate Peyton?
Well...
Yeah, it's a choice.
No, it's also because Peyton has chosen, speaking of choices, she has chosen to go into work with her mother.
Yeah. It doesn't matter.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
Still too.
Skylar does not choose to work with her mother.
Yeah.
Peyton is choosing.
She's choosing to be submissive.
And she's choosing to find the cure.
Yeah.
Oh, so it's a dom sub thing.
Not necessarily. Well, I mean, it could be, but not necessarily. Think about it. You're going to favor the person who has more interest with you
and who's more cooperative
with you than somebody who's not.
Yeah.
You might still be friendly towards them and civil towards them, but you're going to show more attention and more favoritism.
Even though you know the other person is smarter and can probably crack the code,
but they're not being cooperative.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
That's why there's that break. It's because Peyton is trying,
and you also got to look at it from
Let's stir the pot.
I love it.
You also got to look at it from this point of view. That's when you have to sit there and step back for a second and go, "What am?"
But
the stuff I'm doing.
But if that's not your personality, though, you're not going to do that.
Exactly, and
so
that's
why would you do that?
That's a flaw.
But that's that person.
Yeah.
Human nature.
And hence why Cordelia is despised as she is.
I can't despise her though.
Because Tasha is taking that townsperson type approach where it's that's over and done with. I'm gonna wait to see what happens.
Yeah,
you know, like you're the outside looking in.
Right.
I'm taking
and you're very personally involved.
Yeah,
I love it. I
mean, I want to be personally involved.
Yeah,
but you can't. I feel like in some things you can't be.
Mm-hmm.
Because of the situation.
So here's a question for the readers. If you have read the first book or the first two or all three that are out right now, I want to know in the comments, how invested are you in the incident? How personal do you feel? Are you a Superman personal? Are you a Tasha personal? Or are you like me and I'm just sitting here stirring the pot and waiting? I'm throwing out theories and leaving breadcrumbs and I'm waiting to see if you guys...
But if you notice what I'm doing, I'm being the devil's advocate.
I know you are. So,
but
what about this?
But that's appropriate for the Angel of Death series, you know.
Because you're setting...
I will allow it.
But you're also sitting there... That's one of the great things about the book is that it sets the ground... It sets your foundation...
Yeah.
Right.
To take off
I'm just trying to give another perspective.
No, I get that perspective... But I've known too many people that are of that character.
I think that's why he's so personally invested with it. I'm not. That's why I'm not.
You've met a bunch of Aezras. I've met a bunch of Cordelias.
Yeah,
I have met a bunch of Aezras. I've met almost every one of these characters.
Yeah, and I think
I've known them very well. I want to say fortunately and unfortunately.
Yeah.
So that's why I can sit there and say, from a pretty strong point of view,
right? I'm going to say this. I've never ever said your point of view was wrong. I've just tried.
You're just going to replace it with your reality.
She's just got the pot and the spoon, and she's just going like,
I'm just trying to get like another point of view of it. I never said that was wrong.
No, I'm not saying it's wrong.
I know. And that's why I was just like, well, what about this?
And
let's look at it from this. Let's look at it from this standpoint, because I can see your standpoint.
True, but you also, even though we are talking about this,
yes.
It does kind of go, okay, you have to always think. You got to think book to book to book.
Yeah.
You can't start stringing them.
Talking about
no,
one book.
what I'm saying,
that's why I'm trying to focus on one book.
I know that. What I'm saying is if you take them on their own merits, they each have their own overarching theme.
Yeah.
Even though there's a direct through line from one book to the next book to the next book to the next book. This one is like a roller coaster. You start up the hill, you reach the top of it, and then it starts to go over the top. It doesn't actually start getting any speed yet. That's the one great thing about it, and that's one thing I like about the trailer is it kind of builds just like that. It kind of goes up.
It's a slow burn,
and then all of a sudden you're like, "Hey, here we go."
Yeah, that's what I tell readers a lot is that it's a slow burn.
Yeah,
because I will be up front right now while we're talking about it. There are 22 books planned in this series. For those of you who did not know that, I have written through book 7. Book 8 is going to be worked on here shortly. I'm finishing up editing of 6 and 7. And there are 22 planned. So this slow burn is really you're gonna see the wax just oozing off the candle. And finally, when it goes out, that's when all hell breaks loose. Maybe, no pun intended.
Yeah.
So that's what I appreciate about people's perspective that read the book, that these characters are someone you know.
Yeah.
Or have known, or someone you can at least, that's
somewhat
because
relate to.
As a writer, as an author, that's what you want. You're putting, like I said before, fragments of your soul are breaking apart in these characters, but you ultimately want them to be someone your readers can go, ew, I've known someone like that, or, oh my gosh, I feel like that's me.
Yeah.
And you're like feeling it. So you want that feeling. So it's a fantastic thing about, and I'm just going to sit here tenting my finger
as we argue back and forth.
Hey. So going back to the trailer, it's Skylar is the magical being, and the tragic past that we're talking about is the incident, and the cursed future is the insinuation of Aezra's proposal. Because what could happen if you marry a sanguise who relies on one? That's the key difference between a sanguise and a vampire that I tried to make very clear. The sanguise they'll go and like drink blood from whomever, they don't care. But when they taste this one certain flavor, that's it. That's their mate. And that's who they have to live off of forever. Because if they try to drink someone else, they're going to get sick. Because now only those nutrients can sustain them. So the question is, what would happen to Skylar if she does marry Aezra? So that's why it's posed as she's a magical being with a tragic past and a cursed future. So let's see what else we have to offer. So we've talked about her human mother, Cordelia, despises her. Her lichened sister, Peyton, I say in the trailer that she's too cowardly to protect her because, like we touched on, Peyton is conflicted. And she doesn't even know if she can protect herself, let alone her own sister. Yeah. And so Skylar ends up having to be the one to do all the protecting. Yeah. And Skylar's like, wow, this is a really one-sided relationship, but love ya.
Yeah.
And then we talked about Aezra wanting to drink her blood. And then there's a bright light in the form of Elias Luck.
I like Elias.
I adore Elias.
But
I'm biased.
I like him. I do. I like his character in book 1.
Yeah.
I really do.
I think that from Jason's perspective, I know you mentioned to me a couple times, of course, remember, Jason has read through book 4. So he knows what's coming. And that I know Elias has not always been up to par for you in terms of what he should do. And he's a very chivalrous character who has also had a tragic past. And for him, it's been a long tragic past because his memory and the things he's done goes way back. He's been alive for a long time. And the funny thing is, he was friends with Aezra. So when you were talking earlier about what was Aezra's beginning, because there's no way that he was always like this, the bad boy, that kind of ties into how he knew Elias.
Yeah.
So that's all stuff TBD, coming up in the future that you get to know. But in the first book, not trying to like toot, I'm just to give you perspectives of the characters. One of my favorite interactions in the first book is when Elias and Aezra come face to face for the first time after a while of being apart.
Yeah.
And Elias is just like, well, hey, what's up, old friend? And Aezra's like, fuck you.
Yeah.
And you're like, and that's why you're trash.
And
that's why I think that's one reason why I like Elias.
Yeah. And you kind of, I don't know, the feeler I wanted to put out for him in this first book was I wanted you to see that he is a man of compassion.
Yeah.
And the way that he treats Aezra, it's almost condescending, but it's also like, dude, I'm not here to hurt you.
Yeah.
Like, only if you give me a reason to.
I wish.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Again, the Aezra. And to continue on in the trailer, a bright light also shines in Noel, her father, which we had talked about. And Skylar is unsure if heaven is really looking out for her. So this is where in the trailer things shift. And I did that sparkly effect again, like I'm transporting you back to that realm. So the main thing about Angel of Death is there are 3 realms that all have to coexist and maintain the balance of power: heaven, earth, and hell. They don't all necessarily know each other exist for sure. You know how us as fallible beings, we're like, is there a heaven? Is there a hell? Yeah. That's how earth is in this world. Mm-hmm. There's still that I don't know.
Right.
But for heaven and hell, they're like, yeah, we fucking exist. We're here. We're taking your souls every day.
Yeah.
But so heaven is they kind of are having a problem, aren't they, in the first book? And the tagline of the first book is that heaven has one hell of a view. And because they, being proverbially above everything else, have the ability to see all. Whereas us in the middle, we don't really have the ability to see anything. And hell is always looking up, being like, how did I get shafted? So that's
great.
Kind of
I just see earth. That's it.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
I just see a bunch of pains in my ass. That's all I see.
Yeah.
So in the trailer, we're transitioning to the heaven perspective because even though the 3 realms in the first book do not directly interact, they are very important to each other. And kind of like we talked about indirect actions before, the things happening on earth have a huge impact on heaven and hell.
Yeah.
But we only focus on heaven in the first book because we save hell for a little later. And it gets good. But going back to the trailer, there is this thing called the Hand of Fate. And it is basically what makes the world go round. Fate is everything we do. All the choices we make, the people we interact with, everything. And if left to its own devices, it could be very destructive. So we have a wielder of fate who is not, I don't know if this has ever come up as a question, but I can foresee it being a question. The wielder of fate is not designed to tell fate what to do and change things. It's designed, the position is designed to look at what fate predicts will happen and say, all right, this one will cost too big of a risk, but this one will cost like too many lives or something. Like there's always a choice to be made. And the wielder's responsibility is to say, let's take the lesser of two evils.
Yeah.
So you know that phrase, if God gets you to it, he'll bring you through it.
Yeah.
That's kind of, that was kind of my thinking of fate, and the wielder behind it was, all right, fate has brought us here, and I'm going to choose as the wielder the path that to you, the mortal, may seem really shitty, like, you know,
right now, yeah.
Right, like right now, if like a family member dies, or the incident, for example. The incident was a really shitty thing that happened to Skylar. But it had to happen so that she could go and live on her own in Falshuk Mountain. And be able to have this life where she's dating Aezra and friends with Elias and all of that. So that's the job of the wielder of fate. Not necessarily to... The wielder can't control what's going to happen to you. They can just decide which blow would be better for you to handle.
You definitely pick the lesser of two evils.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so the coming storm on Earth, well, we don't really know what that is. And then I'm transporting you back. It's exploring heaven's unseen impact on Earth. And the angels are blinded to the mortals of fate because, I'm going to pause it here, because there is no wielder of fate right now. When the book opens, the wielder, the previous wielder of fate, so think of it like, from a reader's perspective, think of it like a job. You have a job, you work at it for so long, and then you retire. That's what the wielder of fate is, because if one angel were to do that the whole time, then I took it from the perspective of, if only one angel did that for all of time, nothing would ever really happen. Because eventually they're going to keep choosing the same thing over and over, because that's their way of thinking.
Or they'll just get jaded by it.
Yeah. So you have to have, eventually fate says, you're done. You're gonna go. Are we all thinking we nailed it?
Yeah.
3, 2, 1. You're done. They're like, you're done. You get to go retire and live out your eternal life in peace. You have done all you need to do. And then it's fate's job to recruit a new wielder, but they have to pass the judgment tests, because you have to be worthy. You can't be in it.
It just can't be just anybody.
And you can't be in it for the power, because it's a lot of power. And so fate has chosen Hope. And Hope, as you will read through the book, in the very first chapter, actually, it says she is not a very humble angel.
No.
So
But I like her.
She's very headstrong, is how I would word it. She's headstrong. She knows what she wants. She's going to go after it. Is it necessarily what fate wants? No. But that's all they have right now. That's why it says they can only cling to hope.
Yeah, they were just like, here, this is what we got.
Yep.
Hope it works.
Yep.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, seriously. But on Earth, of course, like it's saying, Skylar can't wait. She has to decide if she wants to be a blushing bride or not. So, this is only the beginning. And so that is the trailer, available now, The Angel of Death, first book in the beginning. And we did a good deep dive into the characters to give you, the reader, an introduction on who they are. And as we go through this series, the Composition of Imagination, we're gonna do the second book trailer, we're gonna do the third book trailer. I want us to really look at these characters as they evolve
Yeah.
So that we can
And they do evolve.
discuss.
That is definitely definitely a thing. You definitely see a progression from one book to the next book to the next book.
And that's what I want, is to be able to see that evolution. And let's talk about how that evolution has impacted the story as a whole and in that particular book. So that's something that you, the viewer, listener, can look forward to, is we will be doing more of these trailer breakdowns with lively discussion, because as we see, it is a lively discussion. Tenting my fingers again. And so we're going to be doing that later.
Yeah.
Just thank you guys for participating and contributing to the lively conversation.
No problem.
And obviously, thank you guys all for tuning in, whether you're listening or watching or, you know, just trying to work on your own stuff and hear us chatter in the background. We appreciate it. At this point, there is just one more week before book 4 comes out. The Good Shepherd.
Yay.
So if you have not read any of the Angel of Death, please do yourself a favor and do it. I know I'm the author, and you can also listen to the audiobook. It is on Audible, narrated by me. So definitely you will not want to miss the 4th book. I promise you, you will not. So anyway, in the meantime, if you guys have any questions about In the Beginning or Angel of Death, or like we asked before, ladies, why the bad boys? And, you know, or family dynamics and anything we've talked about today. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. We'll try our best to answer next week amid our conversation. So, and of course, as always, before we go, like we like to say each week, we just want to remind everybody that you matter, you're loved, all your goals are achievable. Don't be afraid to ask for help. We so believe in you, and you can achieve anything you set your mind to. So get out there and kick ass and take names, and we will be back next week.
Don't forget to check out the first 3 installments in the Angel of Death series, now available at steviejoauthor.com.